Welcome to Tailgate Sessions with David, and I want to thank you for taking the opportunity to join us on what has been our three-part series of how to get the add-in the tank. And we talked in previous programs, we talked about our three quadrants, and our first quadrant was part one, the quadrant one, where we're working with current customers that have in the past used these types of products and taken your recommendations. In our second program, we talked about how to have the conversations with customers that are doing a lot of work with us, but for whatever reason, we just haven't gotten them to take that first step in realizing the yield potential and the yield protection of using some of the add-in products that you and we recommend. So today we're going to be talking about quad 3, and that's the prospects. And we're gonna remind you of some of the steps that we know we're gonna need to use, but we'll also throw in a little bit of math in this one too that can be blended in the previous two quadrants as well. So let's get started, shouldn't we? Let's get started. Grab yourself a piece of paper and a pencil and be thinking about someone that you just know you need to have that conversation with. And put Satan's mind and what he's doing to your mind and saying, don't go do that. I don't have time. They're going to say no. Take all that and put it off to the side. Raise the rent. Kick Satan out of your head. We're going to go back to the 6 steps to kick off. God, we keep using that, don't we? The 6 steps to kick off. Who would have thought we'd use it so much? The small talk's over. I know you're busy, Kent. But, I've been working with a lot of other guys just like you, Kent. And a lot of the guys I work with are always asking me and are searching for ways to get their corn to come up faster and more evenly across their field because they know how important it is. Could I ask you a question, Kent? Well, sure, David. Well, as I've been working with a lot of our guys, and guys like you, the 2 biggest, or I should say the 3 biggest questions that they've been asking me are these. First thing they've been asking me is how can cytokinin as a natural plant regulator help promote cell division and leaf expansion in corn? The second question that some of the guys have been asking me is they've been hearing about a product called butyric acid. They've been reading about it in like Farm Journal and so on, and they're asking about that plant growth regulator and how it stimulates root formation and development. And they're wondering how that would help them on their farm increase yield. And then the third question that they've been asking me is what I've personally seen with guys that have added in like a product like Ascend Pro to their product in their tank. And they're really asking me what I've seen in terms of yield response. And I'm just curious, Kent, out of those 3, are there any one of those questions that you've just been more curious about? Now, notice what I did, guys. I used words that I don't know if they came out right or not, but I used terminology that I would consider you to use. Why? Because when you use words like cytokinin and butyric acid, I mean, those are things that set you apart. Wouldn't you agree? Now, if you don't want to use those exact words that are in products like Ascend Pro, well, then talk about growth regulators. Talk about how you're going to stimulate more vigorous root growth. But you saw and you witnessed the power of the 6 steps and how it stimulates and engages the mind of the grower. Here's another one. Another way for you to engage a prospect. Are you ready? If there was a more effective way for you to increase your stands in your corn, gain more consistent growth across your field, because we all know how important everything, if it's just kind of just picture perfect. I mean, it's just so even across that field. If there was a more effective way for you to get that, would you want to know more about it? I mean, think about the power of that question. How many guys would say, no, David, I really don't want to know? The third way for you to really engage a prospect, and oh, by the way, we can blend a lot of these across all 3 quadrants, can't we? But it's just simply having on your desk these words. Ask me about how you can prevent stand loss. Ask me how you can maximize vigor. Ask me how you can maximize the number of rows you have around each one of your ears between emergence and V5. Don't you think that's going to stimulate some conversation? It absolutely will. Now, we've all seen the power of using the math, because a lot of times the customers say, golly, David, have you seen corn's at a 3-year low? I totally understand it. And I'm just as concerned as you. I mean, out of the last 10 years, how many years have we gotten a spring rally in the corn price? Answer, 9 out of the last 10 years. Last year, by the way, between May 16th and June the 13th, we almost got a $1 rise in the corn market. I don't know if that's going to happen this year, but what if it did? My question is this: if corn price is lower, is it more important for you then to find ways to increase yield and revenue on your farm? I mean, let's just do the math. Go ahead and write this down. Let's just use an average investment of $100 an acre for seed. And let's just also imagine that we're dropping 36,000. We're dropping 36,000. So write that 36,000 down. Are you aware that every 1% of seed that doesn't produce a quality ear or doesn't come up is $1 an acre in seed costs that you just lost? Back to our math here. I had you write down 36,000, so we're using that. So 1% of that would be 360 years, and if we're 14 around and we're 34 long in terms of kernel count, that's 171,360 kernels. And if we divide that by 80,000 kernels in a bag, or in a bushel, excuse me, that's 2.14 bushel an acre. And if we take that 2.14 bushel an acre times $3.25 corn, that's $6.95 in lost revenue for every 1% that doesn't grow or impact yield on your farm. So here's the question you've got to ask a grower. How many times have you dropped 36,000 and gotten 32,000 as a final stand? What would be the impact, Mr. or Mrs. Grower, if we could increase that by 1%? If we could increase that by 2%? Folks, you have an opportunity of a lifetime. You have an opportunity of a lifetime to help a farmer right now. A farmer and his operation and her operation has never needed ideas that generate tremendous return on investment more than they do this year in 2020. It's time to have a conversation. It's time to actually look at those quadrants, quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and put real life customer names in there and have the conversation. We are not doing our jobs. We are not doing the work of God. We are not doing the work of our company and its mission if we're not having this conversation with each one of our growers. It's time to get passionate. It's time to get committed. It's time to use a checklist to make sure that we're having these quality conversations with each one of our growers. Lots of conversations. Lots to think about to be successful and to help our growers be successful. And we do it all on the tailgate. Guys, it's been great. Go out, be successful, and get the ad in the tank.